Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I am well. Can you can hear me fine?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great, 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 great. I am excited all the way from Alaska. I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone from Alaska per se in person or
Excellent.
virtually. So, Mr. McBee or B,
B, like the
Mr.
bumblebee.
McBee. Okay. Well, Mr. McBee, thank you again for joining our National Women in Agriculture show. It should be an International Women in Ag show because we are now internationally was named the largest minority nonprofit in the world. Here a couple of months ago, we have 70 chapters nationwide. That means dual. We definitely have more than one chapter in a state and 14 over in Africa. We are opening up one in Thailand, Greece, and Vietnam. So
Oh,
we're
nice.
busy. Yes. Women, it's basically just women coming together to have a voice and to leverage resources to help each other. And what that looks like is ultimately our organization becoming a funder or, like a true hub, if you will, for women producers to have some type of resource, by, submitting us some type of proposal that they will not be in the big pool of everyone and still be able to do things that they need to do for their communities and their families. And because we see so many inequities, if you will, that women and children have been left behind in, or just not included, respected, or looked at as making such an impact in their communities. So, with you, agreeing to be on our show, we highly respect you as a leader for the best USDA agency, we think, that really live the mission of USDA, out of you all helping people help the land. NRCS has been one of our partners for almost 9 years consistently, and that's the reason we're able to do this talk show. Another form of outreach that we thought would be even better every week, just really making sure we're getting the message out there about your programs. So, enough of me. Let us know about you and let us know like how you got involved. We'd like to first know your personal background a little bit. You don't have to tell me your whole life story, but how you actually became a leader with the NRCS.
Well, sure. I can do a little bit of background. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate the chance to talk about Alaska. Any chance I get, I was down in
Yeah.
lower 48 at our leadership team meeting, and it seems like everybody wants to hear about Alaska, and it's always a great story because it's definitely a different world that we live in.
Yeah.
So I started with the agency. I went to school at New Mexico State University.
Mhm.
For range science, which for many people who don't know what that is, range science is basically the science of ranching.
Hmm.
And I started when I was younger in 4-H, like many ag producers do. And I was
Mhm.
really into livestock and just loved it and thought I was going to go into animal science and just completely got stolen out by the range department. When
Wow.
I was a student walking on the campus, they said, "No, you really want to be in range." So one of the best choices I ever made. And so I would encourage anybody who's into ranching to get a degree in range science. Uh,
Range science. I like that.
Absolutely. And we need them. I'll add that too as a little plug. We're always looking for good range scientists. So started my career with NRCS as a student
Mhm.
through our SCEP program. Now we have a Pathways program. And then quickly, well, I left the agency for about 2 weeks because my wife and I bought a business, an ice cream store in Laughlin, Nevada. Left the
Hmm.
agency. I was quickly rehired in Arizona about 2 weeks later, and I was able to work in Arizona for NRCS for the next 8 years until we started having kids. Have we've got four. I've got four daughters,
Wow. Yeah.
and they are all indoctrinated into agriculture. Everywhere we go, all we do is we talk about the fields we're driving past and the trees, and
That's right. That's
they're
awesome.
just they're just amazing getting into the science and math. So, anyways, I got some great opportunities. Was a part of NRCS's National Leadership Program,
Uh-huh.
and with George Washington University, did that for a couple years, and then had some opportunities to move up through the states. through Colorado and then into Washington. I was an area conservationist, so I covered the middle third of the state in Washington. I had a very supportive state conservationist who gave me some opportunities. Roylene rides at the door as a state conservationist up in Washington. And when she left to go do a detail at national headquarters, she let me run the state and just gave me the keys and said, good luck. And take care of it. We'll fix what you messed up when I get back. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I was given an amazing opportunity by Roylene. And then Alaska opened up, and my family was looking for something. I've grown up in the West, and we love it out in the West. We were looking for a place with good schools and good family atmosphere. And Alaska fit the bill. So I applied for it and was hired 3 years ago to the month. So that's about how long we've been in Alaska.
Wow, what a story. I mean, how empowering are you? I mean, you just told the next generation of ag leaders how to really get into the industry, a sustainable career field, if you will, through NRCS and the Pathways program. I can't say enough about, but you told how you stepped out from 4-H, not 4-H, well, you may have come to 4-H, but FFA, which is one of my dear goals, is to become a pilot program to 4-H and FFA for at-risk youth. And I'm going to put a pin right there because I think that all children deserve the opportunity to be exposed to agriculture in a positive way. Right now, when you mention agriculture, just the word is kind of, so sometimes I say farming. I said they're interchangeable. Agriculture is the fancy word. Farm is the same thing. But to make sure they understand that it's not the typical farmer out on in the lands. It's 1,000 careers in agriculture, and we're trying to really drill down. I have like a sub project that I have someone working on to like literally try to list out those careers for the children so they understand the ways they can go, the pathways they could go to get into agriculture, especially when we become this pilot program through Congress that we're working on, and the president, hopefully, to become a pilot program. So all children, again, will have that genuine, sustainable life skill opportunity. Because I think that's why they are so lost. And you have so many minority children going to jail or being, killed. I watch 48 Hours. This is kind of off the grid. I watch 48 Hours quite often because I just do. I don't know. It's weird. And I see so many minority young men. I want to say 98% that's what you see on the deaths and incarcerations. And that keeps me fueled to do something, that really a solution to this horrific problem, because it's all across the nation. But your story, I'm hoping, someone would hear, the mothers or the people that are logging on, because we are going right now live on several of our platforms. We are on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn. All right now we're streaming, and we're hoping that a parent or a community person, teacher, understand that these careers are there. And Mr. McBee told you his story. And you could go back and look at it. That's one thing. We do take the link, and it's set out there in YouTube. It goes to our, we have an app, a Women in Ag app now. You guys make sure you go download it. It's called Women in Ag or National Women in Ag. We, First Women in Ag to have that app that you could download, and that's where we put a lot of tools and links on there to our partners such as NRCS, FSA, and of course the 2501 program that branches out to all the different agencies in the USDA. So I'm going to rest there and let you educate us about what is NRCS, what you do, what is your main program that you would like to see more people get involved in.
Sure. Well, NRCS is an agency, and we help people help the land. We primarily work with private landowners across the United States. We have an office in almost every county in the United States, and we absolutely serve every office, every county in the United States. We're I'd kind of like to talk a little bit about Alaska ag because you don't hear as much about us as you do in the lower 48. And I've
No.
been fortunate to work in I think 5 states at this point in time. But this is one of the most different states that I've worked in. Every state has its own nuances. I have to admit that. But in Alaska, we're dealing with 750,000 people across a state that is larger than Texas, California, and Montana combined.
Really?
Yeah. If you drove from one end of Alaska to the other, you drive from Florida to California nonstop.
Wow. Now that's an education piece right there. Wow. I don't know.
Well, I think Alaska is always on a map and it's floating on the side because it's so big, it dwarfs everything else.
Huh.
So we service that with about 50 people here, right now, a little less than 50 people in our agency. And we basically have the motto, we'll have conservation, we'll travel. So thank goodness for today's technology. We can reach out to and partners. I don't want to dismiss our partners. We have some great partnerships across the landscape. We can reach out to some of the remote villages. About 80% of the villages in Alaska are off the road system, which means you have to take a plane or a boat to get to them.
Wow. Okay.
So we get in planes and boats. We get on snowmobiles. We get in ATVs. We get out there and we do our best to service our customers. Partnerships are a big part of it. I just got done yesterday in a meeting with Alaska Village Initiative. And part of what they do is help get villages and rural areas what they need to survive. And so in Alaska, we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about feeding people, which is coincidentally a lot of things you're talking about in the urban setting, right? So when you're talking about urban farming and those types of things, we're actually doing the exact same thing, except for our urban farm might be a boat and a plane ride away from here.
Wow.
And it may be in a village of 100 people. But those people can't get fresh fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
They can't get a lot of the things that they need to survive. The cost of goods is very, very high. I was told yesterday, I think $32 a pound is what they were paying for meat.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So some of those remote villages, it's absolutely astonishing how high the price is. So they do subsistence hunting and fishing. And a lot of the practices we do up here support that. We do fish passage projects, which open up culverts and let salmon upstream. So if we do that, then that will allow more spawning habitat and then more salmon for everybody. Because it's not just our native community, which, by the way, we have 229 tribes in Alaska. And
really?
So a significant amount of our work is done with the native community up here. So I'm trying to make sure I get it right. I almost slipped them in it backwards. So the Alaska Native folks that we have here, I said 229 federally recognized tribes. And they are about, 14% of all private land is owned by our Alaska Native tribes or organizations. And less than 1% of all of our land is what you would consider traditional private land. But with the state of 375 million acres, that's still quite a bit of land.
That's a lot of land. But the great part about it is owned by the tribes. I love that.
It is. And it's different. It's not like reservations in the lower 48, which I've worked with my whole career. I have some great friends down there still. But it is basically treated just like private land. They can do what they want on there. And they're looking at some landscape level improvements. For example, we're working with Otna right now, a tribe who is kind of close to Glen Allen, and they are working on moose habitat. And the reason for the moose habitat is because they're encouraging moose for hunting for their people. So if they're able to do that, the statistic I heard yesterday was perfect for statistics, was the one moose is about $10,000 worth of meat to a remote family. And with a family that's making maybe $20,000 or $30,000 a year, if they don't get their one moose a year, it can be devastating.
Wow.
So a lot of the work we do is subsistence work, and it is whether it's gardens, whether it's wildlife habitat, whether it's we'll hopefully get to it a little bit later, but we're doing a lot of work with flooding, in climate change. And so villages that are close to rivers and houses are cleaving off the edge of rivers due to erosion, whether it's relocating villages. These are all things that we get to do here and actually make a really positive change in people's lives. So it's a fun thing.
So you would say your habitat program, because I'm trying to make sure that you're, I know you're speaking of Alaska, but your habitat program, if I hear you correctly, is one of your main programs that you guys utilize up there, or can you give us like 2 or 3 that you all actually see a lot of people you have usage of up there?
So much like the Lower 48 Environmental Quality Incentives Program, EQIP for short, is kind of our bread and butter up here.
Okay.
And that's our initial program we use. We use a small amount of conservation stewardship program, and that's on the lands that are already in farming, and that's for people who are. The tagline used to be motivate the what is it? I forget what it is, but it's about motivating people who are already doing a great job. And that's what conservation stewardship program is all about. And we do have some regional conservation partnership programs, or RCPP, where we're already working with folks like the Hoona Native Corporation down in the southeast. And they're doing work like, it essentially works through the EQIP program, but they're doing fish habitat work and those types of things. Another big program that we do is, it's called EWP. So I have all the acronyms for you. Emergency Watershed Program. And that's when there's a flood event, and we have, for us, the big thing is relocation. So if the houses, like I said, are on the edge of the river getting ready to fall in, we can go in and actually move a home to help save that home. But that takes a tremendous amount of partnerships because you don't only have to move the home, you have to move the sewer, you have to move the electric, you have to do all those kinds of things. Because if somebody's in a home, and let's say in some of these villages, they've been using what's called a honey pot, which is basically a 5-gallon bucket as a toilet for their entire life. And let's say in the last 5 or 10 years, they finally got inside plumbing. They don't want to leave that house. Right. So we'll work with the Alaska Native Health Consortium, and they may be able to help us do some of the things we can't, because they're not leaving that house unless they have plumbing. And I don't blame them.
I don't either. I mean, that's a lot of work to have to go back through and move again.
Right, exactly. Exactly. We all know how bad moving is the first time.
Hate moving.
I totally agree.
I'm just trying to make sure I get the big 3, as we'll call them. You said the Conservation Stewardship Program, right?
Conservation Stewardship Program. And our Watersheds program is right now one of our biggest funded programs that we have in the state. Now that is for villages who are trying to get ahead of the problem rather than waiting for a flood event. They're looking at us, and it's for all kinds of different watershed issues. But they range from, we have a village on an island who doesn't have an adequate water supply. So we're working with them to improve their water supply. We have about 14 other villages who we're looking at retreating away from the river or totally relocating the village. And our watershed program helps us get ahead. It's rather than waiting for a disaster to happen. And so we're doing a lot of work with that. And I can't say enough about our partnerships.
So, okay, I'm going to give an example here. Just Dylan, I have a huge, drainage issue here at the facility in the back. The water just, it goes literally to the point it's making a water line around the building where it just stays. What program would I reach out to NRCS to help me? If
you were an agricultural producer, our EQIP program is the program that we look for. EQIP. EQUIP. No.
Yeah, you're right. EQIP.
I'm over here overthinking it. Anyways, our EQIP EQIP program is our number one program if you have a resource concern. If you got soil erosion, if you've got water, too much water, too little water, if you have if you have wildlife concerns, any of those problems, our EQIP is our problem fixing program.
Problem fixing programs. Okay.
It's for fixing problems. And that's the best way I look at it. And then what we like to do is get new producers enrolled often in EQIP, and that gets them started. It's a pretty easy relatively easy for the federal government program to understand. You come in, you have a problem, we have a planner who works with you. You come up with a plan, it's yours, it's totally voluntary. If you don't like it until you sign that contract, you walk away. So you come up with the plan and then you install the practice. It has to meet our standards and specs. And we'll have a design engineer design it, or if needed, and we'll have somebody certified to check it out, come look at it when it's done. And then when it's been put in, we reimburse for the amount that we agreed to in the contract. So
and it's free as far as this conservation plan, and that that you people, you hear that FREE, because like so many farmers and producers, if you will, that they're like, we can't afford it. We don't have money for that. And this program you're speaking of, the USDA NRCS, and that's Natural Resource Conservation Services, the EQIP program, EQIP, there we go, Ms. Allen, that these programs are free for someone to come out from your agency anywhere in the country and assess the property to help you fix the problems.
Absolutely. And if you want to pursue it towards a contract and get funded, they get ranked and funded. If you get selected for a contract, NRCS will help pay, and I would say your taxpayer dollars at work will help pay for part of the installation of those practices. But everything up until that, all the technical assistance, the engineering design, the specialist, like I said, I started off as a range specialist, so I used to work with ranchers on grazing systems. All of that is totally free to our landowner. And one of the reason for that is we found that knowledge and that technical assistance is the most powerful thing that you can give a landowner to help them with conservation.
That is so true. That is so true. And I love I've never had anyone ever say the EQIP was the problem fixer. That's for problems. And just that really helps even further show that we could push that out more. Talk to us about the stewardship program.
Sure. Conservation Stewardship Program, CSP for short. That is the program. If you're already doing a great job, and most people have already started through our EQIP program, it's our more advanced program. And so that'll give you an annual payment for continuing to do a good job and adding additional enhancements. So maybe you want to add extra pollinator habitat, or maybe you're going to go to precision application of nutrients. Something that's way more high end. EQIP's about getting you to that, what we consider a baseline of conservation, and CSP is getting you over, because we don't want people to stop when they're, it's not good enough is not good enough. If they want to keep going and doing more conservation, we want to help them.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So CRP, that's where how long do you have to be in the EQIP program before you go? You said within a year?
So it's CSP, Conservation Stewardship Program. And CSP is, you don't have to be in the EQIP program. Let's say you're just doing a great job on your own and you say, hey, I'd like to install, but I'm not eligible for EQIP because I'm already meeting all of the criteria, the resource concern criteria. Then you might be a great candidate to jump into a CSP application. Go talk with your I say go talk with your planners. Go meet with your local district conservationists. If you are a landowner, an agricultural producer, or want to be, and you haven't been to your local NRCS office, I think you're missing out. You need to get out there. It's a free service that's provided by the taxpayer. I always hate to call it free because it's valuable, and we need to say it's valuable.
Yeah, most definitely. So, and they're already doing. Give us an example. I'm already doing some environmental EQIP, conservation, saving the land, and adding nutrients or what have you, making sure our environment is taken care of. That's the best I could say. So if I go and I sign up at my local NRCS office, you could reach your state office. I always send people there because I don't know everyone's counties. So start at your state office. They will direct you, your state NRCS, they will direct you to your county. And from there, this stewardship program, try to get signed up. And what approximately are the payouts on that?
So it's a per acre payout.
Okay.
And there is a minimum cap on that. I think it's $1,500 is the minimum right now. It used to be $1,000. And my programs person is going to give me a hard time if I mess that up. But that's for because sometimes on very small farms, I mean,
Mhm.
we work with quite a bit of farmers who do half an acre in Alaska, or maybe even less. And in those urban farms, $1,000 makes a difference to them.
It really does.
So it's a per acre amount, and it varies significantly.
Also, you could do. You're saying like $1,500 per acre.
No, a total contract. That's a minimum total
Okay,
contract.
total contract. Okay, total contract. And getting that. And how long do you get to stay in that program before you'll receive this
That's a
$1,500?
5-year program. I think it's still a 5-year program.
5-year program. Okay. And that's incentive for you to keep taking care of the land.
Right. And what you're going to do is you're going to have additional enhancements. So you might be adding something extra that you're not doing. You're going to want to you have to keep doing what you've been doing, all the great things, but maybe you get really advanced with your, like I said, precision application of nutrients. Or maybe a lot of places are very interested in pollinator habitat because, I mean, protecting our pollinators is a major concern for us in the United States. So, and it's beautiful and it's flowers, and who doesn't love flowers?
Right.
So you might
even butterflies come, and I love them. The monarchs, I love those.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really, really good to know that it's like a diversification piece that you diversify from what you're already to enhance it. I love it, an enhancement, and you're getting paid for it.
Yes.
You guys have to hear this. If you don't understand, can you please put on that program is called Conservation Stewardship Program.
Yep.
CSP. And that program is a $1,500 to take care of your environment, to further assist taking care of your environment. Is that correct? Or you want to make it a different statement, Mr. McBee?
I'm just checking real quick.
That's okay. I mean, I think I learned something. I tell people.
Yes, $1,500. I was right. I didn't want to say the wrong thing on there and screw it up. So I did a quick Google search, and it does say $1,500.
$1,500. You guys heard it directly from a USDA agent, if you will, from Alaska, but it's uniform system across the United States.
It
Through
is.
the Conservation Stewardship Program, CSP, you can earn up to $1,500 annually, or is it?
It's annually.
Annually. $1,500 basically they're paying you to take care of the land and do the things to preserve different environmental and natural resources. So you guys, you can't get any better than that. I mean, that's when I say you can't get any better. I mean, that's incentive in itself to help you take care of the environment. And I'm just pleased to see that. There we go, right there.
Perfect.
So, and then the other program, we're going to leave that there for a while. We're going to talk about, you talked about watershed a little bit, and watershed, could you give us, you talked about people who built a home that now it's starting to, erosion's happening. And so talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So our watershed program is, it is for multiple reasons. You can use it for watershed protection, and flooding is one of the main reasons that we use it. We also are able to use it up here for drinking water, because we have one village that doesn't have adequate drinking water, and they are on a island, which is basically a giant rock that you can't drill into. And so their water catchment system is not adequate to supply everybody. So we're using that as we're looking at that watershed approach to help enhance their ability to have drinking water for the community. But one of the reasons we use it is we have villages who are due to lots of things. One of them is climate change, permafrost melt. We haven't had that early freeze in the Bering Sea against the coast over the last couple of years. So those early November storms have been just pummeling the coast, and that pushes water up the rivers and causes erosion. So all of that causes houses that are on the river to potentially just fall right in.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
Yeah. It's dangerous. It's scary. And it's a really cool way that we are helping villages, like literally we're helping change lives by being able to move their house to a safe place. We have our engineers go out there, work with them. They do a design, and it's also voluntary. So NRCS, we're a voluntary agency. The village has to submit a request, and it has to be approved through our national office to be funded for these. So we're not going out there and doing work without their request.
Wow. So back to where you said that the people that are on the island to get water to them, what are you tapping into? The natural springs or the river? I mean, like
so they do not have that. So what we have is rainwater. So we're expanding
rainwater. Yeah.
So we're expanding that watershed catchment of rainwater that's bringing it in, because right now it's just not big enough to catch enough water to have everybody with something to drink.
Wow, that's scary. That's. Thank you for that work, because you're saving lives, like you said, literally, because we have to have water to stay on this earth.
Yeah, and I will tell you, this is working with some of our villages, and they are so good to work with up here in Alaska. We have been so fortunate, and we've got staff who go out there and spend time with them, and it has just been a wonderful experience since I've been here, working with all these communities. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do it.
I can imagine, and I would assume there in Alaska, fish. That is going into like the wildlife side of it, and preserving those and taking care of the fishery there.
Yeah, Alaska is all about the salmon.
One of my faves.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So one of the things we do for salmon is fish passage, and I mentioned that earlier, but it's so salmon have to travel upstream to spawn at the end of their life cycle, and then they die, and then that's the life cycle of salmon. Well, as we as humans are putting in roads primarily, we're putting culverts to cross streams, and those salmon can't come back up and jump in through the culverts and continue upstream. So what you'll have is these dead ends for salmon that'll cut off potentially, tens, if not thousands of miles of stream for salmon to spawn and reproduce. And so one of the things that we've been doing is working with where the culverts are on land that we can work on, private lands, a lot of native Alaska native lands. Then those are the areas where we're able to replace the culverts, increase salmon habitat, and that is with a lot of partnerships as well. That's not something you can do alone. You're working with Alaska Fish and Game, you're working with tribal resources, you're working with all types of different partners to make those happen. But that is another huge impact that we can have on the food system here, because in Alaska, Alaskans, I told you they harvest food. It's not just the native Alaskans. Not just the Alaska natives. That's where two totally different things. It's not just the Alaska natives. There's also people who live here who are able to harvest those. And I think they say you're not a real Alaskan until you have at least 3 freezers. Because
3 what?
3 freezers, because you harvest so many fish during the summer, and then your friend gets a moose, and then next thing you know, all your freezers are full, and everybody shares with each other. It's almost a bartering system back and forth, depending on what you have. It is it's quite a different culture than you see in the lower 48, but it makes a huge difference with prices so high here up in Alaska.
Wow, you have blessed our spirits and our souls with the whole Alaskan experience, the livelihood of being a, because again, when I saw where you were from, and I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting, because I've never personally, literally, never met anyone that says, okay, I live and work in Alaska. And to actually have an NRCS piece that come out in the educational side that you brought in as far as your personal career, that was another just feather in our head to say, hey, here's a gentleman that did it from, early in his career through the 4-H's and FFAs, and then came through the ranks of the programs with pathways. I mean, that's just amazing, your whole story.
Well, I absolutely appreciate you having me on. I did want to say one thing when you called. I did say, we have quite a few women in agriculture on our team up here, and I am the state conservationist, so I'm the state director for the agency up here. But about half my leadership team are women,
I love
and
it.
about 40% of our staff across the state are women, and I have a house full of women. I've got four girls, and my girls tell me I have six because I've got a wonderful, strong wife, and now I have a dog who's a girl. So I'm surrounded by women.
So you're talking about girl dad. That's what they said. Your girl dad.
But I want to create a world where my kids, when they grow up, they can be in the agricultural field. So that's one of the things that we're trying to create here, and we want to be. So one of my career goals is empowering women, and fortunately, in a leadership role, I get a chance to do that, and I have just the most amazing staff. And some of them would be great interviews if you need another Alaska person.
Most definitely. We want to open a chapter there, because what happens with the chapters, that actually, the capacity, the way we're structured, every chapter has their own EIN. We incorporate. They're in your state. And EIN does, they're like a set-alone organization, but they're up under the umbrella, so they could adopt the capacity of the experience. Because I'm there to do the consultant part, to make sure they know about the programs and how to get this out to other people. So the outreach, it just keeps growing arms, and that's how it works. And they're constantly empowering women as well as men. We have male leaders in the organization. So if you know of anyone, I know this is kind of off your thing, but in the community that may want to start some type of women's initiative, this is a great opportunity, because our organization, like I said, we're from coast to coast. We just don't have one in Alaska.
We are one of the fastest growing agricultural states by percentage. And we have one of the highest populations of women farmers in the country. So high percentage, because we are a smaller ag state.
Exactly, yeah.
But we just have some amazing women farmers, and we want to encourage them, and as well as all of our other ag producers.
I think we're going to have to host a conference, a women in ag conference up there soon. I mean, I think that would be phenomenal. Like NRCS and Women in Ag, partner up and do something there for the women. I would love to do that, and I would to visit. Now, when is the warm time there?
So May through early August. It starts getting chilly in August.
Okay.
So May you're just going to finish that breakup, and the mud will be ending, and then May and June are pretty warm and sunny. And then, and it is beautiful. It's like living in a postcard. If you love the outdoors, if you love to see just the most beautiful views everywhere you go, Alaska's for you. And so I'm also going to say we're hiring. So I'm out there recruiting. If you have people who are interested in jobs, I would love for them to be thinking about Alaska, because it's not a scary place to live.
I will make sure we put that and announce that on our platforms, and have them get in contact, because we have your contact information right there. You will see it. This is Mr. Alan McBee. He is the Alaska NRCS State Conservationist. I feel so honored for you to take your time to speak with us. There's someone coming on. So I do plan on doing something soon and reaching back out and connecting with some of your women leaders for us to try to have something there in next spring, summer area time. This has been pleasant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. And you all, thank you for tuning in to National Women in Ag, or Women in Ag live talk show, another outreach platform where we are bringing actual information from the USDA all the month of October. And this is, I think, the end of the last one, right? All month we highlighted USDA NRCS. So that was the one we wanted to start our year off with, one of our main partners that truly live by their mission of helping people help the land. And when you do that, I always like to end my show by saying it's a great day in ag to make a bag. So you guys have a blessed day. And again, thank you so very much. God bless. Thank you.